Hey y'all, welcome to the Why Podcast, where why is always the question here in the closet with Celeste Frey. And I am so happy to be here with y'all. So let's get real. You ever look at or look back on a situation and say, dang, I knew better. I saw it. I just felt it. I just didn't move. Well, we call them red flags. But the truth is, they were never hidden. So the question I got to you is, why do we ignore red flags we saw the whole time? Because see, that's what today's topic is. So let's break it all the way down. So I'm going to say also, I know y'all can tell a sister's voice sound kind of crazy because I was sick the past week and I lost my voice. And I'm glad it came back this much because at first it was a whisper. And as a whisper, that was a little much. It was hard for me to use it. I was coughing and anyway. So bear with me with my voice because I'm doing my very best and I wanted to get my content out and have a conversation with you all. So start with my 8 points that I always have. We're going to start with point 1. We confuse potential with reality. Now, don't get me wrong. Sometimes we fall for people. We fall for their possibilities, what they can possibly, the life they could possibly provide for us. And I'm not talking about financially. I'm just talking about maybe as a family man or a family woman, what the potential is, what we see or what we're hoping to see. But because we imagine they could be what they could be instead of accepting who they truly are, we look past the red flags. And that illusion can blind us to a behavior that's screaming, you better run. Run for it. Seriously. I know I'm being silly, but I'm being serious at the same time. Right? We can't allow ourselves to get so caught up in somebody's potential that we don't realize their potential is actually a pitfall for us. Right? Their potential can be a pitfall for us. So don't fall for it at all. You better run. My next point is we don't trust ourselves enough at all. Because if we did trust ourselves, we would follow what our gut is saying, which is shouting, no. We wouldn't second guess our intuition. I don't know if I'm stumbling over my words today. What is it? We second guess our own intuition way too much because we've been conditioned to believe that we're too sensitive, or maybe I'm overreacting, or maybe I'm just tripping. Nah, you're not tripping. You know what that is that you feel inside of you. So what you do is you'll override the warning signs. We'll override the warning signs, and we'll keep walking into the fire. And is that necessary? No, not at all. We're not tripping. We got to make sure that we're paying attention to what it is that is eating at us, telling us that this person is not right. You know, I know if you with me, sometimes you'll be catching those clips of tonight's conversation. I believe it is. And a lot of the information that's being shared, for me, some of those questions that are being asked is common sense. It definitely is a character trait. However, I don't think a lot of us get it. I don't know if it's because we don't want to get it. We are second guessing ourselves too much. We're not trusting our gut. I don't know what the case may be, which is why I mentioned that. But I'm just like, you know what you should and shouldn't do. It isn't always that easy. Sometimes yes and sometimes no. Which brings me to my third point, is for some of us, we're afraid to be alone. Sometimes red flags feel safer than loneliness. We convince ourselves it's not that bad because the fear of starting over feels worse. But I'm going to tell you this right now. Peace is always, always better than poison. Seriously. I mean, for me, I try to give myself enough time to understand the data that I'm collecting of how I'm feeling. Because when it's time, it's time. And I'm not going to sit up there and make an excuse for anybody in their BS. I've always been that way. You know, I've had situations in the past. And don't get me wrong, I had a life before I got married currently and before I got married in my last marriage. And I was really good friends with actually both of them, so they know. I didn't play that when it came to what it is that I wanted or wanted to be around. And my peace is always important. And the older I get, the more I'm, taking the time to appreciate my peace much more often than not. Which brings me to another point is that we normalize dysfunction. I don't know about y'all, but I can't normalize anything that's dysfunctional. Toxic, when toxic is all you've ever known, though, sometimes the folks that don't register as a danger, it registers as familiar. And that's dangerous in itself because you don't know what it is that you're inviting in to your home, to your sanctuary, in your peace. And what's familiar feels comfortable even when it's killing your spirit. We got to get out of that. When something is dysfunctional, it's what it is. I'm saying this not to go off the beaten path here. One of my favorite shows, I think is one of the best American shows ever made, is The Cosby Show. And not one of the best black shows, one of the best shows ever made is The Cosby Show. And I remember I would hear these discussions with, a lot of black people from different walks of life, and some who felt like The Cosby Show was unrealistic, some who felt like Good Times was much more realistic. And for me, I was like, that's just dysfunctional, because why would you say struggle, pain, strife, and all those things are more realistic than a loving, well put together, two-parent home with good children that they'll get in trouble for some of the things every now and then, but for the most part, they're good children, and one's a doctor and one's a lawyer. Why can't that not be realistic? I don't get it. For me, that was dysfunctional. When someone, I forget who it was, said to me before, whether the mom's an engineer and the father's a nurse, or the father's an engineer, the mom's a nurse, whatever, if people want to get to these gender role type things, whatever the professions are, that can very much be a really good, well-rounded upper middle class family. That is realistic, especially even in the black community. But if people have this function that they're used to, they can only see that as a negative and unrealistic, and they can only see what they're familiar with, such as what was happening in Good Times, as realistic, which is why I'm like, we can't continue normalizing this function. That is not okay. Well, my next point is that we over-empathize. We make excuses for them. Or, they're just going through something. They didn't mean it like that. And let me tell you something right now. I am not making an excuse for nobody. Get your ish together or don't. But if you don't, I'm not here. If you do, we can work through it. Right? We can continue growing. But see, compassion without boundaries turns into self-neglect. Don't bleed yourself trying to abandon somebody else's red flags. I'm no one's savior. I'm not going to act like I am. It was one Christ. He came. He died on the cross. He died for our sins. He married us back to the Father. So I'm not going to stand up here and take accountability for nobody's sin, nobody's dysfunction, nobody's behavior, and nobody else's red flags. And you shouldn't either. We should be able to have a mature adult conversation about where we are within the relationship and where it's going and what is preceding it. And what I mean by that is, how we hear the saying, oh, your reputation precedes you. That means before I even walked in the room, you knew who Celeste was. I heard about her. She's good people. Man, she's very honest. She's down to earth. She's real cool. She's real chill. Right? So your relationship should precede you in a positive way, not in a negative way. If we're having a conversation and we're moving forward and we're working through some things and it's for real and we're not normalizing dysfunction and it's preceding us, it should be, that's a couple that work through it. That's a couple that communicates with one another. They may not get it right all the time, but they're working hard and trying their best to do so. It shouldn't be, here they come. I don't know why they with each other. They are oil and water. It should never be like that. And that's what I mean. My next point is, we don't want to start over. Some people are like, it's too much work. I invested this much time. It makes us feel like we owe it to the situation to stay. When really, no, you don't. We think about the years and the memories and the what ifs and am I leaving too soon? And did I stay too long? Whatever. We're thinking about that way too much. But staying in the wrong thing just because you've been in it a long time isn't loyalty. It's just fear. A fear of moving forward. Fear of being by yourself. Fear of being alone. Fear of what it may be or not be. Fear of I'm not going to get anybody else as good as this person or whatever it is. And this goes for both genders, male or female. I just heard again. I'll watch the little tonight's conversation clips or whatnot. I like Miss Kitty. I love a lot of the advice that she gives because it's grounded in faith. It's grounded in that Bible, which is what we should always be grounded in. And one of them, it was the man that got up there, and he was saying like he knows his wife is cheating on him, and what is it that he can do? He this man and follow her to the cheater's place, and he's checking her, every move and all the things. And one woman went on a tangent, which was ridiculous, as if she was trying to give reason to what he must be or not be doing at home as to why his wife is cheating. Whereas the other woman gave more clarity and said, nah, you need to pivot. You need to pivot because you need to, one, love yourself enough to know that you are worthy of better. Number one, because if she's not just cheating, she's cheating. This is a whole love affair on the side. No, you need to love yourself more. You need to get around people that love you and will tell you the truth and help pour into you because you need it. Because in some way you are broken to allow this, to allow you to keep going through this. You don't need to snap either. You need to get away from the situation and you need to pivot and get you a woman that can appreciate you. And I was like, man, so it's not just women that I'm talking to or that's going through this. It's men too. You got to understand that you want more for yourself. We only get this one life. And sometimes I know we get caught up in it because we don't want to walk away from a situation prematurely when we're like, dang, I don't know if I gave it a chance for real. Whereas when you listen to older couples, you got some that's been married 50, 40, 50, 60 years and they gave it the chance and they worked at it. And then some things though, honestly, it just needs to be left where it is. That's why this is called why do we say when we see red flags, right? Some things need to be walked away from. I've walked away from red flags. I needed to. It was definitely jeopardizing my peace of mind, my health, everything. And it's okay. We were actually better off as friends than as lovers. I'm just saying. And that was me and my son's, my oldest son's father. We actually had a better working relationship as parents that are co-parenting to an extent than being in a relationship. And that works for me and it works for him. And I appreciated that. And that's where it needed to be. So when you see red flags, you better run. Get away from that. And really take the time within yourself of why you are even staying to think, like, what is it that I'm going through that I haven't healed from? And this brings me to my next point. We hope they'll change. Hope can be a beautiful thing, but when it becomes a trap, it's not. If someone shows you who they are consistently, it's not your job to rewrite their character arc. It's your job to trust them and believe what they're showing you and telling you. It's your job to protect your peace. It's your job to make sure that you have to I got to make sure I put myself first and move away from the situation because it's not helping me in any manner or any way. And sometimes you get stuck in situations where people, they reel you back in because they know you, right? You've been with somebody long enough, they know you. Oh, she ain't gonna go nowhere. I'm gonna do this, and this is gonna happen. Or he ain't going nowhere, and then I'm gonna give him a this, and then she gonna do that. The hope for change. How many years you been hoping for that? And it probably will come, but it may not come with you. I was listening to also, I love podcasts, y'all. Hey, I got podcasts, right? I was listening to Waka Flocka's ex-wife, and I love the maturity I hear from both of them. Have I followed them closely in the past? No, but here and there I would see little things, especially with Waka and his maturity and his growth. And she was just like, we were just together. We probably were just meant to be together for that season and for that reason. And that was it. She was like, he's a really good man though. And he's really even a better man now. And she was like, and even when he was trying to get better, I was so mad at what he had already done to me with all the cheating that I just couldn't appreciate who he was becoming. And that wasn't fair to him either. And I love that she said, we're better apart, and that works. And also, I love what she said. The next woman that he gets is going to get a really good man. A good man that's matured, that's grown up, that's handling his business, got all that other mess out the way, And I'm like, yeah. So sometimes their change will come, but it may not come with you. And you have to be okay with that, Which brings me to my last point is that we don't want to admit we ignored it. Sometimes pride keeps us stuck. We don't want to face the truth that we saw the signs and walked in anyway. But owning it is the only way to move forward. You can't heal from what you won't admit. If you know that this person is a great person, because though there are red flags, and it don't have to be drastic. There's some evil, wicked people out there. I'm not going to negate that. But we're going to stick with those that's just a little toxic and need some work, okay? And if you notice in their toxicity and it's not working for you, it's okay to move on. If you're in a relationship that's crazy, it is abusive, get out yesterday, last year, last month. We're not staying. He's definitely, or she's definitely not the one, okay? But I know toxicity can breed familiarity because maybe that's an environment you grew up in, and you might want that. And I'm here to tell you, don't. As your big sis, your friend, Celeste on the Why podcast is getting you to answer or to ask a question why in every situation. Please don't put yourself in a harmful situation. If you see red flags, remove yourself. So in closing, let's be honest. Most red flags weren't missed. They were minimized, they were justified, and they were ignored. And we do that. The human mind does that because we want to believe something else or we want to give something a chance. But that doesn't mean you're broken. It just means you're human. The power is in what you do now. When you start listening to your gut, when you stop betraying yourself to keep something that was never meant for you, that's when the real healing begins. Don't wait for the crash. Honor the signs the first time. All right? So I'm going to leave y'all with this as always. Remember, question everything starting with why. Because why is always the question. And I'm out. Peace.